Welcome to Cosmic Connections 101, a podcast by two sisters speaking about all things related to personal growth, self-love, and spirituality. Join us every episode as we discuss the secrets of the universe, energetic connections, consciousness, and navigating the 3D world with a 5D mindset. Take a deep breath in and out. Now let's get started.
Hey pod people, this is Jo.
And I'm Kel. And this is
Cosmic
Connections 101.
101. Welcome to our first ever try at podcasting.
Yeah, we're a new podcast and we're going to be talking about all things spiritual.
Yep, just a friendly chit chat like we usually do.
Casual.
Between sisters.
Yeah, casual catch up between friends. We invite you to join our conversation. It is a two-way street, so we'd like to hear from you guys as well as you interacting with us on all topics spiritual. And yeah, welcome.
So obviously this has been a long time coming, Kel.
Yeah, definitely a long time coming. We've been talking about doing this for over a year now, and
I reckon longer.
Yeah, it's just one of those things because we are both pure generators. Anybody who's interested in human design will know that we need something to help with the fire burning and the energy and momentum. So it's just been a procrastinated project at this point.
Yeah. And me, come on, let's be honest, me saying no all the time because I'm scared to have my voice heard.
But this time I was just like, it wasn't even an option.
Time.
It was like, we're making a podcast.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm saying yes to all things now because no more hiding. It's time to elevate and send out love and healing to the world. And you only do that by talking about your own experiences.
But there was some resistance, right?
Always.
Like you felt that shock in your body, the body of like, no, I don't want to do that. And then, you talked yourself around. So I'm very proud of you for doing that.
Thank you. This is why we need people in our lives who support us on our spiritual journeys to give us that little push and support when we need it the most.
Yeah. And I feel like this time is such, it's a good time for us to be starting a podcast because you are actually closing a lot of chapters in your personal life and moving forward into a whole new world. So it's like a purge for you. So now it's time for us to both together step into this new dynamic of being co-podcast hosts.
I know, right? I mean, talking's nothing new. I love to have a yarn, me.
Exactly.
But now it's like, okay, let's share our experiences, our little nuggets of wisdom that other people who obviously are going to resonate with this because we're going to talk about our own journeys and experiences and all the little things that we have done to get to where we are. And it's an evolving, constant learning every day.
Stepping into that teacher role that both of us have felt sort of uncomfortable embracing for such a long time because, we always just have that feeling of who am I to be teaching anybody when I'm perpetual student. I'm always learning. But, it's like you teach and be taught, and it's just how it's going to be. So I feel like we are in a good position now to open that conversation and start teaching people, and hopefully you can be along the ride with us. Jody, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, obviously, I think the best way to start is our own personal memories of our first intro into the spiritual realm, the unknown. Examples?
Did you want to go first since you're the eldest sister?
The eldest.
Eldest first.
Yeah, so I'm like 47 now, and the first time I ever had any type, when you look back and reflect, it's like a spiritual experience, but when you're 3, 4, 5, you don't have words for that.
Yeah.
And mine starts a little bit strange because I grew up, the first 6 years of my life was in Newtown, and it's inner city, Sydney, and there's no real playground. So at the end of my street was a graveyard and
very
with mad old church. And that was kind of my playground. I just found it like really fun and interesting, and I could just look at the headstones and lay there with them and have little conversations. I just thought everyone could do that.
So how old did you say you were? 3 to 4 years old?
Look, yeah, 3 and 4, I reckon. But when you first from where we lived, the first entrance was this massive, big, amazing tree. And I'm a lover of trees. And I think the reason for that is I walked into this cemetery and I was just instantly drawn to this big mother tree. And it was that massive that you could actually go inside of it.
Oh, wow. That's
And
cool.
yeah, the roots were like a meter off the ground as well. So you could sit on it. I'd use it as my balance beam. I'd play on it. And it just felt like it was just a big mum giving me a hug.
Yeah.
And it was so nurturing. And I always just had a connection with trees and the earth, the elementals. But I didn't know that's what it was. I just love the energy. I'd give
Yeah.
hugs. That felt comforting. But I could hear it and it would talk and I could feel it. And it was in the graveyard. So
So
that was
did
like
you
my favorite place to be.
did you share that with mum, that you could hear the trees talking and that you felt stuff, or were you kind of too young to even really, have that
Articulate it.
conversation? Yeah.
Well, at the beginning, because I'd go down, play there with Auntie Donna and, we play hospitals and teachers on the gravestones. I know it's pretty,
Yeah.
people don't think about that stuff. For us, it was
But
just
the funniest
Adventureland.
thing to me though is like, it's such a generational thing. Like you are 3 to 4 years old playing outside by yourself or with, our auntie who's not much older than you. And, parents were just inside doing their thing, and that was perfectly safe and fine for you to just go
Yeah,
and
you just,
play in a graveyard.
that's right. You just go play all day, you come back for snacks, and then you come home before the
Streetlights.
lights come on.
Yeah.
That was the rules. But yeah, we'd just play there all day and just have different adventures. You'd make up story. Well, I used to think I was making up stories about like the person, the graveyard
Yeah.
name.
That they could
And
have been
I'm
actually
like,
like spirits there who you were
yeah,
talking
having
to.
a talk because I'd go, oh, this person, they were a doctor and they did da 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 da. So
Yeah.
I'd make up stories. But now, as I've gotten older,
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh wow, I was probably just reading their energy.
Well, this is a bit of a sidetrack to that, but I always have that one vivid memory of before I was
At
like
Westfield.
tapped in, spiritually, of that time we were at Westfield and we're in the food court. And I remember you being able to just, read this person, his conversation with his girlfriend sort of thing, and just the exchange, everything that was going on. And you were like, well, doesn't everybody do that? And I'm just like, no, Jodie, they don't. Like,
Yeah, it's just like I could see certain people and I can just kind of get what the thoughts they're having and what's in their mind at that moment, what feelings. But I just think, oh, I'm just making up a story. It's just like,
yeah,
people
like
watching and
creative. Yeah.
and just like
In
imagining
your
that's someone's story.
imagination. Yeah.
But yeah,
But
I
as a
always
3 to
just look
4
back
year
now.
old, like where do you get like that kind of information from? Like, the story itself, I mean, yeah, we're creative and have good imaginations, but like,
Yeah.
if you're
And
talking
that's where I
about
got my first like spirit young girl, Tammy, who used to be with me all the time.
yeah.
So I don't know if I talked to mum about it, like, because I can't remember where she came from. So maybe she was there at the graveyard. Maybe
Maybe followed
she's,
you.
yeah. But like, I never had, like, it was real to me. Like, even though I knew people couldn't see her, I could see her.
That would be
But I wasn't
actually a
scared.
cool kind of thing to do. Like if we went back to that cemetery and seen if there was anyone like, named Tammy on a like headstone or
Yeah.
like.
Well, I did go back, like, remember when Kiara, that's my daughter, everyone, who's now an adult, when she was in that film.
Yeah. You went back
Right.
there.
So because it was screening down at Newtown, I took that opportunity to take Kiara there and got photos of her with my tree and I got photos with it as an adult. And I'm like, it's just as more amazing than it was when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, I didn't know how I knew what I knew. I just knew that that was a really significant and special tree. And then all the energy of the graveyard just felt really important and special, like the tree. I
Yeah.
wasn't scared of it at all. But I could see things, hear things, feel things. But then obviously I'm a young kid. So when I go home and tell mum and nan and everyone, they kind of just humor you and just go, oh, it's all like make believe. It's not really real.
Yeah.
And so that's when, and I'd, say, oh, my friend Tammy, she's here and she wants this, this, and this. And then they'd say, oh, I'm using her as an excuse to, like, I don't know,
Get
get
out
an
of
extra
trouble.
snack or,
Oh.
to stay, like, to use her as excuse if I was in a bit of trouble or something. But I don't remember doing that. Like, that's what they said. And then it made me just question my own truth and reality.
Yeah, like was Tammy really there or did you make her up? And
yeah, and then they'd sort of laugh about it. And then I, as a little kid, well, actually, as an adult, like all we want to do is have connections and feel safe with each other. I said, so if you don't get
And
that
fit
from
in
your
as
family,
well.
yeah, if you don't get that loving, nurturing acceptance from your family when it's something that is normal for you, but they can't see it or feel it, and then they dismiss it, you just go within yourself then and you go, oh, okay, well, I just want to be normal. I don't want this to make me any different. So then I would sort of just not tell them. And then I'd start to think it's not real.
Yeah.
And that's where the lack of trust and belief in all of these feelings and things that you see, I started to question it and then
shutting it down.
Switched it off.
Yeah.
So that was like one of my first ever. It's like so vivid for me. And obviously you had a very different experience, Kel, because you're 9 years younger.
Yeah, 9 years, 9 months, 9 days younger. Exactly.
We love our numerology.
Well, yeah, for me, I don't really have any specific thing like that exactly. Just like, growing up in our house, we did have that spirit there, that man who lived there. So I kind of always just felt the presence of a ghost around. So it was so normal to me that I didn't realize that that wasn't a part of other people's houses. Like, you remember our old next door neighbors, like when he stayed over one night and he seen the spirit, and he shit himself and ended up going home. He was so scared. Yeah. So like for us, it was just such a normal thing. Like, we'd be sitting on the couch and you could see it walking up the hallway, and it would just catch your eye, out the corner of your eye, and you look up and, it's just like, it was so ingrained in me that we had spirits around us all the time, that I haven't had the same experience of you as trying to shut it out, because by that point, I think Mum was more open to spirits and ghosts. And, that was when she was starting to get into crystals more and, like all of that sort of stuff. So for me, it's always been a part of my life, having been aware of spirituality and meditation and spirits and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm grateful that you came before me, because you're the ones, like, sadly for you, who had to go through all of those things of feeling like a bit of an outcast or a bit weird and having to shut stuff down. Because for me, the conversation has always been open. I've always been comfortable coming to you and saying, like, oh, hey, what does this mean? And then you already have experienced it, so then you can go in and teach me about whatever it is that I'm asking about. And I've never felt like I've had to shut any of my gifts down or whatever. If anything, you've always encouraged me to explore more and to just, okay, it's like, well, that is a something for you, so just keep that in your memory, and down the line it's probably something important for you that will come back into your your vision, and it'll be an important tool for you to use on your spiritual path. So it's like completely different sort of approaches, because for me, it's always just been a green light, and it's been an exciting thing for me to journey through, because I haven't ever had that apprehension of feeling like a weirdo. I mean, I feel like an outcast and a weirdo for my own reasons, but not ever,
but not in the spiritual
in our
world.
family. Yeah, like not in our family. So, thank you for always making me feel like I can come to you with any weird thing or whatever.
I think it's pretty amazing that as I was getting older and having all of these other different experiences, like negative and positive energy and just things that would happen, the more I'd talk to Mum as she was getting older as well, she started to be a bit more open to it, because she used to preach God stuff.
Yeah, like I made my Holy Communion and confirmation in the Catholic Church, and I was down that path, because that's what was sort of like pressed onto us. But I wanted to, like, you remember, I wanted to make my confirmation and everything, and I obviously still believe in Jesus and that he's an ascended master and everything like that. So
it just shifts focus. I think.
Like, and I have a different attachment to like archangels and all of that sort of stuff than you. I think because for me, the church and stuff that Mum was pushing onto me, it did sit a bit more comfortably with me than it did with you.
I guess for me, right? Because obviously, again, we grew up in totally different times, But when I was down the graveyard, I think this is the part where people would just, I don't know if I shared this, Kel, when I was little, or if I just knew it was too out there, that if mum and that couldn't accept me just talking about the trees and my little friend Tammy, then I definitely wouldn't tell them about the aliens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'd be laying.
I mean, we don't actually even mention that to mum now.
Nah.
Like you so say, I was like back then, like no, still now in 2022.
No, but it's so different now. Like when I was little, I'd be down there, the graveyard playing, and I just remember, like, even though we're not allowed out at night, I'm like, if I was with Auntie Donna and Uncle Wayne and there was like some street party or something, I'm like, we're allowed to be there to watch the stars and everything. And it was such a beautiful big open sky. And I just remember laying there looking up there and just going, wow, like we're a part of something so massive. And I just remember feeling so connected to the sky people. And I didn't even know how I knew that's what they were.
You know, it's like
I just see aliens and knew that they were part of me, and I didn't understand. I just knew it. Don't know how you share that with people that you're
that you know that there's aliens
that you know in Aboriginal culture as well. It's like it's just, you know, they just talk about the rainbow serpent and all these other things. I said, but there's other spirits that are from the sky that come to help. And I just knew that before I even knew any of this stuff existed. So I don't know if I shared that with the family when I was younger, but I've always told people. Know,
it's like pretty incredible that your mind was already thinking so expansively at such a young age, you know, like thinking about how we're part of something that's massive just from looking up at the stars, you know. Like when I was 4 years old, I was talking about Barbies, you know.
This has been my problem, man. I think I'm always been way too serious and deep.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't really have the same type of experiences. Like I'd have interesting stuff happen and then I'd have no one to talk to it about. Like I'd gauge people and go, oh, so, you know.
Yeah, like, see what's a safe space to talk in.
Yeah, no one really subjects. Got it.
I mean, it's still kind of like that now, but I feel like it's a lot
better now.
Easier to talk about certain things, but there's some things that you sort of just don't go
still
there.
Shy away from.
Yeah, with some people there's only like you have your circle of people who you trust with talking about certain issues,
and go delve deep.
And then there's the lightest, you know, surface kind of stuff, the fun stuff that everyone likes talking about, like, you know, zodiacs and crystals.
Your MO.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a big astrology.
I like the star stuff. I don't understand it.
Yeah. I mean, this is a perfect time, like I was just saying, perfect time to start a podcast, astrology, you know, like all in the stars is like perfect time. So
yeah, and we both have such different, like, you know, anyone who's starting their own personal journey, like I just feel it's always like a healing and listening to your inner wisdom. I said because it gets so blocked out from other people, noise, what the expectations are in this world, but we forget to
and everyone, you know, it's different timing for everybody. Like, and maybe people aren't meant to wake up in this lifetime and their job is just, you know, to be here and assist you with your waking up and ascension, you know, because like for me, definitely. I didn't actually have my awakening. I feel stupid even saying it but you know, it is like a before and after kind of moment, you know, like for me,
pivotal
it was
moment.
10 years ago, 2013, where it was just like the stereotypical, you know, Saturn return kind of relationship ending, world crumbling, you know, everything falling apart. Then you have your awakening. It was like that. So, you know, for me, my actual first proper drop-in spiritual message that really, you know, like the best way I can describe it is like a zing, like it, you know, just zinged something inside of me, like electricity.
You had an all body reaction.
Yeah, it just kind of like everything, like, you know, popped. It was like
alert.
That. Yeah, it was like I was walking home from work and I was listening to Empire of the Sun and their song DNA, and yeah, there was a part in the song where
just even that is hilarious.
Yeah, I know, right? And so when, you know, this part of the song came on, it was so strange. It was like a switch in my brain where I could hear spirits talking to me, sort of thing. It was like they said to me, like, you know, first of all, it was this whole electric shock in my body. It was like, pay attention. And then it was like, you know, listen to the words of the song. And then so after I heard that, then every single lyric that I heard after that song, it was I can't even explain it. It was just like a different way of listening to music for me. Cause like I didn't really listen
Vibration.
to much music. Yeah. Like the frequency of music for me, it just never really gelled. I was
No,
always
you never liked
TV.
listening to music
Yeah. Like
at
film and
all. I was like,
TV person.
what?
Yeah. So it was like, that was the thing that kind of switched me on, to being able to pick up spiritual messages through music. And then that is such a massive tool for me that has helped
Yep.
me ascend and to heal. And like now at this point in my life, like 10 years later, I don't know what I would do without music. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So for
totally get
me,
it.
it was just that moment where, and because of the song and the music
Yeah.
and everything, it's just like one of those moments for me that is really pivotal. And that was like
Yeah.
my first real proper drop in where I was like, I knew it wasn't me imagining something, this
Yep.
message, because it was a whole full body experience. And it was like I had been snapped awake. Because when you're walking, you listen to music and you're
Yeah.
daydreaming and whatever. It just kind of like everything snapped awake. And it was like, listen to this, listen to the lyrics. And I was
And I
like,
just think it's awesome, like, because I'm all about symbolism, right? And the extra
mm,
meanings of stuff. But just you listening to that song about DNA, like, and in that
yeah.
moment, your DNA gets properly activated
Activated.
again.
And the funny thing about that too, right, is I heard the song on Triple J, and I remember like, I didn't listen, I just kind of heard the end of the song and I was like, oh, that's a
Mm,
sick song, and I just wrote it down so I could like, find
find
it
it.
again on Spotify one day, and I just forgot about it. And then I was just going through my phone notes and I seen it and I was like, oh yeah, I'll listen to that song. And then so that's when I
See?
really started to get into Empire of the Sun. And like their music for me, as you know, is just like,
Yep.
it just does stuff to
Pivotal.
me. Yeah, it's like, massive for
It's
me.
part of
Same
your
as
healing.
same as Narco for the both of us.
Oh,
It's just does, so
love
much
you,
for my
Narco.
DNA and activation. So for me now, with all of my spiritual stuff, it definitely is a lot to do with those messages through music, and of course, like the angel numbers and like all of that sort of stuff, like what
Yeah.
happens with a lot of people when they start waking up. But for me, yeah, it's always like through music now, those big kind of alerts.
Yeah, I think for me, because it was just such a different experience, I would have like little bits of that type of thing happen throughout my childhood. But my pivot moment, like where I was like exactly what you were explaining, I don't think we've ever talked about it this way before.
Mm.
So see?
Yeah, you're dropping all these knowledge bombs on me. I haven't heard these stories before.
Yeah, no, because just you talking about your experience of how your body just sort of went into this zing mode and you're like, oh, stop,
Yeah.
listen. Okay, that's exactly what happened to me. But obviously I'm of it, like I love sky people. I love the
Mm.
sky. I love the earth. I can feel that I'm in both worlds. But a lot of my messages and stuff will come from animals. So my first real pivotal moment, like what just happened to you, I
Mm.
remember I was 16, just walked out of the backyard and went to, run out because I was living out in the caravan, get my own privacy away from you
Oh, nice.
because, so much older and more mature. So mum and dad had sorted me out with a caravan out the backyard. And I remember coming out the back door and I started jogging to go back there. And then I just stopped in my tracks and I felt this whole thing over my body where I just had to
Mm.
stop, look to my left because I could feel something. Look over on the fence is this big crow
Yeah.
just staring at me. And instantly I was like, oh, this is something.
Because birds have always been something for you. Was that the
Always.
first time, or like the first
That
time when
was the
it sort of
first,
alerted, like in
that
that
was the
way?
big one. That was
Yeah.
the big one, like what happened to you with your song. So it was
Mm.
like I stopped, looked at this bird, but I instantly like shit myself because
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God,
An
why is it there?
omen.
Why is it
Yeah.
staring at me?
And
And
it's like a
and then he
big black
started giving me
bird.
messages.
You just think like, does that mean death? Or
Yeah, instantly.
yeah.
But this bird told me about death. So then I just automatically went, oh, fuck, all these bird messages are about death. I don't want to know them.
Yeah.
So the crow's just staring at me and he didn't move. And then he was giving me like he was like, someone in your family is about to pass away. Start preparing. And I'm like, what
Yeah.
the fuck? And then
Yeah.
like I just turned away and then I looked back and it had gone. I'm looking around, there's no bird flying away
Like
anywhere.
it just
It was
evaporated.
disappeared. And I just went, oh God. And I walked back into the house. Hey, mum. She's like, yeah. I'm like, something just happened. like, I know something important really just happened to me. Like, and I explained it to her and she believed me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She was like, oh my gosh, Jo, that's amazing. Like, I wonder, well, not that someone's going to die, but like, that's so wild, like that you knew. And she goes, how did you know what it was saying? I said, I don't know. It was talk, like it was a download. I just knew. And then within
So,
days, Nana Murray passed away. And remember how Mum used to train cockatiels?
yeah.
One of her cockatiels escaped the day that Nana passed away. So it was like
Mm.
her spirit flew off with that bird as well. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
right.
that was for me, that was my big pivotal sort of like, whoa, this is pretty interesting. I've
So
had little things happen along the way.
did you ever talk to Dad about when you have
Yeah,
animal messages like that? Because obviously, Dad's a blackfellow, so
yeah.
he
So
is he
it's so
more open
funny.
to hearing about that?
So when we were younger, like Dad didn't really talk about any spiritual stuff and he just goes, oh, all this new age bullshit. But
Mm.
like when I talked to him about bird stuff, because he would still go, oh, our people, that's where our messages come from, like messengers from, like, the spirits are usually from the birds and the animals.
Mm.
And he would always tell me, like, we'd be sitting around and he'd go, like, listen to it. He'd hear a bird and he'd go, hey,
Yeah.
hear that? It's a such and such. I've got to ring home. Something's going on.
Yeah.
So, like, he was instantly connected to it. But then when I'd go, Dad, that's like, work, that's spiritual stuff. But for him, he didn't
Didn't.
see it as a
Yeah.
separate thing. He
Mm.
was like, all this new age stuff is crap. And I'm like, Dad, you're old school. This is all the stuff that's
Yeah.
coming back again that
Exactly.
people
So
are
it's like,
aware of.
the ancient knowledge
Ancient wisdom.
is what he is more familiar with, but like the new agey stuff he just kind of repels against.
He thinks it's just something different. I'm like, no, no, it's the ancient wisdom of our people, but people are starting to hear it
More
in their own ways. There's many ways to
contemporary
get
kind of,
messages.
yeah.
I said, so, I'd tell them about the bird stuff. And then when it happened, I just got petrified though.
Yeah.
And I switched off again because I'm like, oh, well, not completely, because that's when I probably started really paying attention way
Mm.
more. And
Yeah.
and then when I was about 18, that's when it's probably for another podcast, but that's when I
Yeah.
had, that's when I started my journey of different mentors and stuff. And Kel, like I'll meet spiritual teachers, and next minute they're my best friends. Like
Yeah,
they just
exactly.
don't leave my life,
It's
and
your
that's what happens.
Libra Sun and Gemini rising ability to be charismatic and make friends everywhere you go.
But it's like they're part of my soul tribe. They're part of my
Yeah.
healing. And, everything that pops up in your life isn't a coincidence. It's like all the little things you loved when you were younger, they're all relevant and they'll all click in at one stage of your
Yeah.
journey. You just got to listen to your own inner wisdom because, no one else could believe that a bird could be telling me messages and then it happens.
Yeah,
I
and if
didn't
you
even believe it, but I
yeah, and if
knew
you
it.
tell people that, there's like two sides of the fence there where people are just gonna think you made it up and you're full of shit and whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's the people who will believe you straight away because they've had similar experiences. So they know that you are speaking the truth.
Yeah, and it's just an example, like, we're from the same exact family,
Yeah.
but we have totally different experiences, and our DNA and what our journey is very different, but also aligned. Because
Yeah.
it wasn't until you came into your power and gifts and were open that it
Mm.
made it like a safe place for me.
Yeah, because all of the stuff that I've now been able to unlock about myself are so far-fetched and crazy to people who aren't a part of these
Our
conversations.
worlds.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of, it makes it easier for you to just say all of the stuff that you experience too without fear of it being shut down and fear of judgment, because the stuff that I'm experiencing would sound like crazy to other people. But
Yeah.
I
Lucky we have each other.
I'm glad that I don't care though, but I really feel like, that has a lot to do with you always just accepting whatever I'm telling you as my experience and not ever having me second guess myself, and that it is a real experience that I've had and that I'm not crazy,
Yeah,
because that helps.
100%.
Hmm.
And I think the most important thing, especially for, like, obviously we're doing this for the first time and we can ramble on, but that's what our normal convos are like because you want to delve deeper. But I think the most important thing that I always tell people when they're having any type of dream experience or whatever, they want me to tell them what it is.
Yeah.
And it's not my job. I'm like, I'll listen and I'll talk to you about it. And I know, like, I have my feelings about it, but then I'm like, okay, what do you think it meant?
Yeah,
What
because
do you feel? I go, because
that's where
that's
the
the
answer
important
is.
thing.
We can talk
Inside
about
of you.
symbolism and, a snake was in your dream. Well, this is what it potentially means, but how did
What
you
was your feeling
feel?
about it?
Yeah,
That's
how did
right.
you feel when you seen the snake? Did someone come to your mind and was like, oh, this MF at work? Yeah, that's who came to my mind. It's like, well,
Yeah,
there's a
that's right.
snake,
So then
mate.
that's what's truth for you. But then you can help guide into other pathways. And then whatever resonates for them, that's what resonates for them. My
Yeah.
way isn't your way. Like I'm more of
And
an earth and
yeah,
rocks. You'll like the crystals, the polished ones, the
yeah,
amazing ones. I like just plain rock.
yeah. It's
So
always
it's
the
like
same with
same,
us.
same, but
Same,
different.
same, but different.
That's our saying.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll
Yeah, we
if we
should.
have other chats.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, and now I'm actually not sure how long this has gone for. We did sort of plan to not be that long, but hey,
30 minutes,
sure
hopefully.
it's gonna happen with us a lot because we like to have a yarn.
I think
But
it's really good if we throw out like a question at the end of everything, because I'd want to hear about what kind of experiences or pivotal moments that people
yeah,
have had for
what
their
was the
first.
thing for you that kind of set that electricity off in your body where you're like, whoa, this is a something.
That's different. Yeah.
I need to pay attention to this. Like, yeah, what was your experience and how old were you? Because for
Please share.
us, for me, I was 29 and you were 16, did you say?
Yeah, 16 when that
That's
happened
like
to me.
a big difference, big time difference of our awakening. But
It
anyway,
happens
Jo,
often.
I think maybe
All right.
we should say goodbye and hope that you got something out of this and that you catch up with us for our next episode.
Sounds awesome. See you later, pod people.
This podcast has been made with love from our hearts to your ears. Thank you for listening to Cosmic Connections 101.